Hello, and thanks for stopping by. Before we begin, I'd like to express my immense gratitude to all of you who've been supporting this channel over the past few months. I recently passed the 1,000 subscribers mark, and that, combined with the countless kind words that you've been sending, means so much to me. Thank you. As a way of expressing my appreciation, I'd like now to take you all on a virtual pub tour. In this video, we'll be exploring 10 London pubs, all of which have a tale to tell. So cheers, and let's go. If you'd like an idea of how the city appeared before the Great Fire of London, then the Hoops and Grapes on Aldgate is a good place to head. This pub dates back to 1593 and is one of the few timber-framed buildings to have survived the mighty blaze, which erupted in early September 1666. The Hoops and Grapes was very lucky. Apparently, the flames fizzled out just 50 yards from its door. One of Covent Garden's most atmospheric pubs is the Lamb and Flag, which can be found tucked away between Rose Street and Floral Street. In years gone by, its secretive location made the pub a popular venue for bare-knuckle boxing, which led to it being rather gruesomely nicknamed the Bucket of Blood. Another violent connection with the Lamb and Flag is marked by a round black and white plaque attached to the pub's brickwork. I'm not quite sure why you'd want to commemorate this, but the roundel details a brutal attack on the poet John Dryden, who was almost beaten to death outside the tavern on the 19th of December 1679 by a bunch of goons supposedly hired by the Earl of Rochester. Apparently, the Earl was infuriated by Dryden's recently published work, an essay upon satire, in which the poet had slandered Rochester, saying, amongst other things, that he was mean in action, lewd in every limb, and that manners themselves are mischievous in him. Yep, those are fighting words for sure. The Old Bull and Bush on North End Way, Hampstead, was once a popular destination for parties of cockneys who'd head out here on day trips in search of fresh air and pleasant surroundings. Intriguingly, the pub also lends its name to a tube station that never was. The station in question was pencilled in by the Charing Cross, Euston and Hampstead Railway, and construction on it commenced in 1903. However, the project was abandoned a few years later when the planned residential estate the station was earmarked to serve was scrapped. The works left behind a cavernous area on what's now the Northern Line between Golders Green and Hampstead, and if you know where to look, you can just about spot the void rush past whilst travelling between the two stations. Although the station was officially going to be called North End, the space, which forms the deepest part on the entire tube system, is colloquially known as Bull and Bush, after the pub above. In the 1950s, London Underground incorporated a nuclear shelter, complete with a heavy blast door, within the half-built station. The plan was that, from here, the network's floodgates would have been controlled in the event of an atomic attack. Sticking with Hampstead, the Spaniards Inn, on surprise surprise Spaniards Road, stands beside the site of one of London's former toll gates, which used to operate an early form of road pricing. The cash received from this enterprise all went into the Bishop of London's pockets. A nice little earner, I'd say. Although the booth closed in the 19th century, its legacy remains in the form of a narrow gap in the road, which traffic still struggles to squeeze through today. The Spaniards Inn is also briefly mentioned in Bram Stoker's 1897 masterpiece, Dracula. Before the arrival of the railways, the area now covered by the sprawl of Clapham Junction used to be known as Falcon Bridge. This name was taken from a local pub, the Falcon, which still exists today. The first record of the Falcon can be traced back to 1733, and the current building dates from the 1880s. The Falcon is noted as having one of the longest continuous bars in the UK, and for a time it was considered the longest by the Guinness Book of Records. It's also claimed that the Dutch mind-twisting artist M.C. Escher had a hand in designing certain aspects of the Falcon's interior. The Grenadier is one of London's trickiest to find pubs. You'll find it in swanky Knightsbridge, tucked away at the end of Wilton Row. Built in 1720, the pub was once popular with the military and was used as an officer's mess. The Grenadier is also said to be one of the capital's most haunted pubs, the ghost in question being that of a young soldier named Cedric, who, one fateful evening, was caught cheating at cards. His mates, who were no doubt tanked up on ale and feeling rather insulted, proceeded to beat poor Cedric to death. Cedric's paranormal activities generally peak around September, the month in which he was supposedly murdered, during which objects are shifted around, footsteps are heard in empty rooms, and, on the odd occasion, an eerie moan emanates from the cellar. The King and Queen pub on Foley Street's Fitzrovia has a rather impressive musical claim to fame, for it was here, in December 1962, that a very young Bob Dylan played his first ever gig outside of the United States. A framed photograph taken of the event can be seen inside the pub, which still hosts live folk music today. The One Tun can be found on Saffron Hill, which, in the 19th century, was one of London's most wretched slums. Back then, the River Fleet flowed above ground and its muddy banks ran nearby. Echoes of them can still be found today in the sloping back streets which stretch down towards Farringdon Road. The river is now subterranean, although you can still catch a whiff of its pungent aroma drifting up from the drains around these parts, especially during the warmer months. It was in this locale that Charles Dickens placed Fagin's Den in his second novel, Oliver Twist. And the One Tun, which lies at the heart of this area, was the inspiration for the novel's fictional Three Cripples Tavern, which was frequented by the murderous housebreaker and all-round bad guy, Bill Sikes. Not the sort of bloke whose pint you'd want to spill. As the One Tun was established in 1759, the pub was already pushing 80 years old when Dickens began writing Oliver Twist in the late 1830s. Located in Wapping, the town of Ramsgate is a great place for enjoying a pint or two beside the River Thames, which laps behind the pub. There's been a tavern on this spot since the 1460s, and at one point it was called the Red Cow, which rather rudely was said to refer to the pub's barmaid. The pub's been known as the Town of Ramsgate since 1811, the name being a reference to fishermen from Ramsgate who'd opt to bring their catch ashore at the adjoining Wapping Stairs, rather than further along at Billingsgate Fish Market, where they'd be charged a pricey tax for the privilege. Most famously, it was here in 1688 that the notorious Judge Jeffreys was apprehended. Following an uprising in the West Country, in which rebels had attempted to overthrow King James II, Jeffreys had overseen a series of trials known as the Bloody Assizes, in which he sentenced 144 people to death. Later that year, Jeffreys' luck took a dive when the Glorious Revolution saw James II flee the country. Jeffreys decided to follow suit and hurried to Wapping Stairs, where he attempted to board a boat bound for Hamburg. Although reputedly disguised as a sailor, a group of locals recognised the notorious hanging judge outside the pub. They apprehended the tyrant and dragged him to the Tower of London, where he died of kidney disease the following year. Built in 1971, the Windmill on Brixton's Blenheim Gardens is a relatively new pub compared to the others on this list. Today it's a popular and welcoming live music venue which champions new and upcoming acts. The windmill from which this modern flat-roof tavern takes its name is of course Brixton's landmark windmill, which dates from 1816 and can be found in the park just across from the pub. When the area introduced its own currency, the Brixton pound, in 2008, the windmill, along with Van Gogh, who lived on Hackford Road as a young man, was depicted on the £20 note. The Windmill pub used to have a tough but lovable mascot, a Rottweiler called Ben, who was nicknamed the Roof Dog thanks to his favourite perch being up on the pub's flat top. Sadly, this much beloved old trooper passed away in 2015. Thanks for joining me on this virtual tour of London's pubs. I hope you enjoyed it. This is volume 1. I already have another 10 taverns lined up, which I'll be presenting in the near future. Once again, thank you so much to all of you who've subscribed. Reaching the 1000 mark has provided a real boost for the Rob's London channel, and I'll be working hard to get more videos out to you. If you haven't yet signed up, I'd appreciate it very much if you could please click the subscribe button, as this will ensure you don't miss out on any future content. Pressing the bell icon helps too, as this will send you a notification the moment I publish a new video. If you'd like more London related content in the meantime, please be sure to visit my website, robslondon.com, where you'll find more history and trivia. There's even a quiz or two to discover there. I also have a store on Etsy, Rob's Online Designs, where you can find an array of London themed merchandise. Links in the description. For now, thanks again friends, stay well and stay tuned.